odds Harry's latest lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday could undermine his narrative that the media caused serious harm if a judge finds that an article published by the newspaper claiming Harry misled the public about his offer to pay for police protection did not break the law. That's according to a discussion between Chief Royal Correspondent Jack Royston and Royal commentator Kristen Meinzer on the latest episode of Newsweek's The Royal Report podcast. The Prince has denied the claims made against him by the newspaper. The discussion follows recent developments in Harry's case in which his lawyers requested a judge rule whether it passes the test of serious harm. This would determine whether the Prince was reputationally damaged by the published story to an extent that it caused serious harm and is key to winning the case. Judge Matthew Nicklin stated in a court filing on April 26, seen by Newsweek, "I have refused to direct trial of the issue of serious harm. I appreciate that Prince Harry's case is one based, at this stage, solely upon inference. But ultimately this is an issue of fact." The denial of the early judgment request means that the trial will continue with the first round to be held after Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee in June. This is Harry and Meghan's third lawsuit against the newspaper, Royston told Meinzer, and it relates to a story published in February which accused the Duke of Sussex of misleading the public about his offer to pay for his police protection. The denial of the early judgment request means that the trial will continue with the first round to be held after Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee in June. This is Harry and Meghan's third lawsuit against the newspaper, Royston told Meinzer, and it relates to a story published in February which accused the Duke of Sussex of misleading the public about his offer to pay for his police protection. After the story was published, Harry instructed lawyers to file a lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday. In order to win the case, Harry's team will have to prove that he has suffered serious harm reputationally as a result of the article, which may lead to the Prince having to disclose personal documents to the court. It's clear now that the newspaper is going to fight this, and that means that he is going to have to get his head around what will happen when it goes to court, Royston noted. A lot of this is about what the Mail on Sunday was saying in the story, about Harry's PR operation, so if he starts having to put his whole PR machine into the public domain, it might just start getting difficult for them. In Royston's opinion, the case could prove to be more of a negative for the Prince than a positive, as if the judge ruled in the newspaper's favor, that it did not cause serious harm, then the royals' narrative about the negative impact of the media could be called into question. "My view on it personally," he told Meinzer, "is that this is not a hill to die on or even a hill to risk dying on, because ultimately where Prince Harry's reputation sits is the product of literally thousands of news stories, of which this is just one. If his decision to ask for the court to take an early view on whether he meets the serious harm test is an indication that his team aren't sure that it does," he continued, "and his case was to fall based on a judge ruling that it doesn't constitute serious harm, then I think that could undermine part of his narrative about the media. Harry and Meghan's whole narrative about the media is that they cause serious harm, so I kind of think, why risk an adverse ruling on a point that's so fundamental to the bigger narrative?" Britain's Prince Harry is no stranger to online criticism, and in a special opinion piece published in August 2020, said social media was stoking a crisis of hate, reported Reuters. In an opinion piece for U.S. business magazine Fast Company headline, "Social media is dividing us. Together, we can redesign it," Harry said that he and his wife, Meghan, have spent the past few weeks calling business leaders and marketing executives on the issue. The Duke of Sussex urged companies to reconsider your role in funding and supporting online platforms that have contributed to, stoked, and created the conditions for a crisis of hate, a crisis of health, and a crisis of truth. Prince Harry, the grandson of Queen Elizabeth, called for online communities to be defined more by compassion than hate, by truth instead of misinformation, by equity and inclusiveness instead of injustice and fear-mongering, by free, rather than weaponized, speech. Harry and Meghan, formerly known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, live in Los Angeles after stepping down from their royal roles in March 2020 to forge new careers. They moved out of the UK after growing media hostility. In a speech given on July 2020, Meghan urged teen girls and young women to drown out sometimes painfully loud negative online chatter with positivity.